Hello, hello. So we are returning to the last act of the first day, or second day, if we count in the exhibition. So our last guest tonight is Zena Edwards. I want to start with a personal note. She's someone who has been with us, that meaning me and Niloufar Tajeri, from the very beginning of our research on monuments to riots. A few years ago, we saw this fascinating film, Riots Reframed, and we got not only struck by really diversity of comments and interviews that were there, showing the complexity of riots of 2011, what was there before and after, but we were struck even more by Zena's voice, her performative poetry that brings together the most dramatic points of riots vis-à-vis society, opening and closures of riots, the revolving anger of the dispossessed, the promises broken and realized. The words that echo the very real and deep asymmetries, us and them, as she say. Her words resonate with the dispersed noise of the unheard. Zena is a poet and a performer, transformer, who uses songs, movements, global influences as a jump on. Yeah. That's pretty cool. There is a lot of fusion in her approach in terms of poetry, music performance, influences. Furthermore, she is someone deeply engaged in collaborations, international exchanges, from jazz to hip hop, with very diverse artists. She also produced some 2 CDs, one calling Healing Pool and the other Mind for Life. This time we shall hear a certain fusion, a new experimentation of contextual notes, poems. So the floor is yours, Zena. Thank
you. 1, 2, hey. Okay. I really feel like saying good morning because I don't feel like I've been to bed. So good morning. Or good morning. So first off, I'm a performance poet. So I don't really do passive sitting down audiences, just sitting there listening. You're in my front room now. I can't cook for everybody, but just feel part of this. If you want to put your hand up and ask me a question at any point, please feel free to do that. Is that all right? And also this thing that I'm trying to do now, I'm an artist. It's been really interesting sitting over there, listening to talking. I'm from Tottenham, and I live where I could see Tottenham Police Station where they were protesting. I know what it was like around there. I saw that area deteriorate in 1 year. In 1 year, I had to leave that place. Like I was leaving, but my hair was on fire, because it was hard, It was hard to see the place turn around the way that it did. So when I was coming home to Tottenham to go to my friend's birthday party, I saw everything sort of like kicking off. I just literally arrived at a particular time that there was a bus that had been starting to be on fire. I saw a police car explode, but there was something really not right about that police car, the way it was marked. So you know that they position things specifically so that they can set things off. They kettle. Everything is pretty much orchestrated for something that size to kick off. It's been planned and it's been orchestrated. When they talk about conspiracy theories, I think about the government's conspiracy against the people. And I think it's really convenient that because they've got this massive propaganda media machine to flip the mirror around, or whatever it is, flip the story around. Everything that they're calling us is what they're doing. So I've been involved as an artist for a long time. And in 2010, I started to work with an arts and activism organisation, because of the work that they were doing with raising awareness of what was happening in the Niger Delta. Okay, I have to also tell you this right now. I'm so super tired, I've got no filter. So I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, okay? Okay? It's like serious. I'm serious. Okay. So, so please, yeah. At the moment, I'm really observing something. There's a lot of folded arms in here. Can you just? I feel like I want you to stand up and shake it out. Shake it out, please. Can you just stand up? Please, just stand up because you've all been sitting down, just listening. Just stand up and just shake it out. Yeah, this I do this. Just move. Just shake it from your hands. Start from your hands. Take it into your elbows, and then take it into your shoulders. Move your torso, and then take it into your hips, and just shake it out. Shake your bottom. Feel your butt cheeks wobble. Just just like please, because what happens is when we get into these kind of spaces and we're talking this talk, it will go up into our heads. And I have to sit and I have to listen to my area talked about. It's the trick about representation. I so hear it because I've left there and I still want to represent the ends, So it's okay, you can sit down now. So. Yeah, or you can shake out your legs as well, whatever you want to do. But I mean, just like it feels so tight in here for me. And I'm a feeling person. I'll deal with my body a lot. I work with my body a lot. 2005, I made a conscious decision that I was going to... The filter is down. 2005, I made a very conscious decision that I was going to start thinking with my body, which meant that when I walked into a room, I wasn't going to use my eyes and my ears so much. I was just going to feel it out. How does it feel in here? And it has saved my life multiple times working that way. Because we are holistically, we have to think and feel holistically. So our body, this flesh thing has a memory. It thinks for us, so we have to listen on occasion. I talk about listening in this presentation thing that I'm going to do as well. So, I just, this was just starting to freak me out a little bit, so... So anyways, I'm going to just going to start. I don't know what's going to... Let's see what happens, shall we? Press the unhide button. Alrighty. Maybe it's a good time to get up and have a little skank, just have a little dance, Their belly's full, but we're hungry. An angry mob is a hungry mob. The rain falls, but the dirt's too tough. The pots are cooked, but the food not enough. We're gonna dance to jazz music, dance. Dance to jazz music, dance. No worries. Okay, it's fading out anyway. So, a hungry mob is an angry mob. The first thing I want to talk about is what is the hunger, and what is the mob, what is the anger. Actually, I'm going to put it to the audience, put it to all of you, all of you heads is better than just me one up here. So what do people think the hunger is? What is the hunger? Sorry? Where are you? Hungry for bread? What kind of bread? Ooh. I like where that one's going. What is the hunger? And I'm serious. I'm asking you. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I don't agree. As an artist, as somebody who believes in storytelling, as a communal thing, I'm into creating community moments. I'm not into just passive consumption. The filter's off, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to tell you off, but I'm just saying I'm not into it. So, what do people think the hunger is? Just survival strategies, but why are they hunger? What's the hunger? The hunger isn't just for food. What kind of food are we talking about? What are we asked to ingest every single day? What's force-fed upon us every single day that leaves people still hungry? People are still emotionally hungry. People are still spiritually hungry. It's not just about food. It's not just about what you can put on the table. You know, we're talking about how society, how communities work, how human beings as creatures that flock together work. So if you're deprived of a spiritual side of yourself, if you're deprived of an emotional side of yourself, particularly an emotional side of yourself, you can get very, very angry, because anger is just the tip of the iceberg. You go down a little bit and you meet unmet needs. What are those needs? So for me, when I think about a hungry mob, when I think about a hunger, I don't just think about food. Are you with me? Please let me hear some noise. Yeah, yeah. Okay, then cool. So, their belly's full, their belly full, but we are hungry. A hungry mob is an angry mob. The rain falls, but the dirt is tough. The potter cook, but the food not enough. We're gonna dance to jam music. Gonna be thinking about, as a poet, as a wordsmith, I look at every single word, because every single word is positioned purposefully with a motive, with some sense of direction to point us into its guidance. So I want to think about, what is the rain that falls? What's the trickle down that was supposed to happen? What's the dirt? What's the dirt that is either nurturing or fertile or not? And why is it tough? What if the earth, the dirt, was our very bodies? We're not nurtured, so we become tough and crystallized and desensitized. And what's the pot, the vessel within which we're cooking and putting food and the recipes and the spices and the seasoning and sustenance in? And there's food, but there's not enough of it. We're gonna dance to jam music, yeah. Just dance. Are you with me? Yeah. All right. You're very quiet. I don't know.
Sie noch alle Sachen im Schrank?
Okay, so I don't know what's happening. There we go. Oh, I know what happened. All right, next. Riots reframed. So here we go. So the film that you was talking about, I'm just going to show you a little extract of that, okay?
Riots. I mean, the word riots, it has a lot of different connotations and meaning to different people. And it's, I'd say, normally associated with something negative, to be honest. In the eyes of the mainstream, the media and governments and things, to them, I guess a riot is something negative or something destructive or something. I guess I'll refer to the things that happened last year as riots possibly, because it's an easy term to use. But I don't necessarily mean something negative when I say riots, when I talk about the riots or the uprisings, as you could call it, or because for me, the riots were more than anything like a statement. They were a message. They were saying something to us in society, to the people that run society, to the powers that exist within society, to the divisions, to everybody, to society. They were a message to society. They're telling us something more than anything, something that we should listen to.
Where did it happen? Who did it? And why didn't it happen in other places? And start from there.
The them, then the us. Them, us, them and us, them and us. These them and us conversations. The problem, they say, is that it's too multi-layered and full of social complexities. Okay, let's level the playing field. Let's pretend we're all equal. Maybe that can unpick the perplexity. Let's observe the situation. Let's think foot, shoe, walk. Experience otherness. Walk their talk. Or are your toes too precious to dip in the waves of foreign? Would you become slaves if you made that human connection? Let's observe the psychology, the pathology of privilege, speeding humanity to the edge. And those people you give nothing to believe in aren't blind to the example that you set, all that warmongering
and thieving. Callous, you build a society made to suit your measure. Stitch up the logic and fix the question, the equation of pressure. Lies multiplied by corruption, multiplied by every day is daylight robbery. String up and lynch Robin and reward the sheriff. Let them riot times looting squared for a media frenzy. You see that, you? Repeatedly, ferociously punching Labrooks, the betting shops, reinforced glass windows with raw fists. That is a rage from a page not yet written in history books for Ofsted curriculum class lists. Check how his rage bubbled, then hissed, then roared, the steam released. Easy, brethren. Calm down, blood, come on. And his mate pulls him away. Camaraderie in fury. So let's talk about the anger, because the stakes are high and it's a dead weight of their greed. Straight to the camel's back, and we wonder why the need turns ugly. So I decided I want to do a project called the Fury Project, looking specifically at the emotion of anger. And it started looking at my mother's anger to begin with. Then it kind of came to my anger, and then it came to that trope of the angry black woman. And then it got to the emotion of anger in general and why it comes about. I realized that most of the time we don't have a very good relationship with one of our base emotions, which is anger. And women do bear the brunt of it. But I'm not saying that men don't. There's some very sensitive guys out there that don't express their anger. There's a lot of sensitive guys out there who do express a lot of anger because they don't actually have the language for it. But the one thing that a riot shows is that people are really fucking angry. Is it all right if I swear? Okay, just checking. Yeah. They're angry, and they're angry because of what I was talking about before, the hunger. But you have to name it. You have to be specific. You have to be able to name what it is that you're angry about. And one of the things that I realized was that, you know, you kind of like, okay, something upsets you, and then you kind of be angry about it for a minute, and then you come out the other side and fine. But there's this gap in between where people don't actually know how to transform that into something useful, into something constructive, something that can propel you into a new level of consciousness. And I think I'm proud to say that the intergenerational work that I do, the work that I do with a lot of young people, they are incredibly collective-minded and creative and innovative, and they've got a hang of technology in a way that just blows my mind. And they're using their frustration to create and make things. So back in the day, you'd have people talking about chanting down Babylon, you know, fire for Babylon, which is fine, burn it down. But what are you building? What are you going to replace it with? I'm curious about that. For me, life is a curiosity. As a poet, I'm constantly looking for new words and new ways that I can express these new consciousnesses that are coming into being, and I don't think we've got the language for it yet. And it's okay to not know. And like I said, I've been involved with arts and activism and academia is problematic, and it needs to own that shit because it gets in the way. Because what happens when something becomes academic, it can become policy. It reaches government spaces and becomes policy. When Grenfell kicked off, when I say kicked off, I'm thinking about all those people on the ground who are furious about what's happening, how they're not getting justice. 2 weeks later, it wasn't 2 weeks later, there was call for papers around Grenfell. Academic papers, 2 weeks. And the interesting thing about it was they were saying, we want to talk about class. They completely eradicated the race element. So if we're really into this like changing the world, we need to get all those great minds together who are in academia and to be like, you know, jargon busting and allowing people in, allowing folk into those very, very powerful places. and spaces and the gaps in between. You feeling me? You notice I say feel me as well, yeah? Okay. Where we at, Zena? Okay. It's kind of rough, eh? We're burning and looting tonight. This morning, I woke up in a curfew. Oh God, I'm a prisoner too. Could not recognize the faces standing over me. They were dressed in uniforms of brutality. How many rivers do I have to cross before I can talk to the boss? Now, the residents of Grenfell were banging on the council's door for months and years. Months and years about the cladding. About the cladding, about the sprinklers, about the boilers, about anything to do with decent social housing. And they were ignored. The cheek of it is that the government gave, because you know, like the London Borough of Kensington is kind of divided down the middle, right? You've got the poor side and you've got the wealthy side, because it's the royal borough. It's a royal borough. It's like royalty. And the other side were bonused with some extra cash because they said they'd saved money. So they gave them cuts on their council tax. And so they gave them some money. We have to understand the level of injustice that happened. Now, the interesting thing about Grenfell, of injustice that happened there, because the interesting thing about Grenfell is that it has a history, it's part of a history of slumlord thuggery. So it was an area where they would dump a lot of drug dealers who were in recovery. So it's heavy with drugs and alcohol in that area, but also, I mean, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but you probably know. If you know the Profumo affair, scandal, the film Scandal, check it out. The Profumo affair all happened in West London. Basically, it's where a lot of politicians and very powerful people would go and get their drugs and prostitution. So there's a lot of reasons for why Grenfell has to be kind of like, because it's part of a legacy. There's a poem that goes with this. Hold on a second, let me get to it. So there's a whole kind of like what I call the virus of gentrification, because it is like a fucking virus, man, the way it moves in. And vanity, repugnant entitlement to sordid beauty. Your retinas are coated with children's acids. Your haunting will be relentless. Mercy? Maybe. The ground is now hallowed, unholy passings over. Forgiveness? Dare you ask it of the families whose tongue curse a democracy rank with prejudice, rancid with greed? I doubt it. But don't ask me. Ask your conscience crusted with moral bankruptcy. Your soulless, ugly vanity. That's how I feel about gentrification. I just thought I'd tell you how I really feel. So yeah, bourgeoisie, how's the view? I'm going to put a question to you now. Do you think that they should build a memorial on there? Or do you think they should put housing on there? What do you think they should do with the space? Stay like this. Who else thinks it should stay like that? Please, a show of hands. Who thinks it should stay like that? Wow, you're outnumbered like by 100 and something to 1. Like, what do you think could possibly go there? Now, I want you to think about the residents that have to look at that thing every single day, who heard the screaming, who saw people jumping out the windows, who were breathing in the ash and the poisonous gases. I got to make it real for you. Because we can sit here and talk. But it's really real, because I went down to Grenfell on the first day. It happened. I know people in there who are keeping the young people calm because they want to go up to Parliament and get up. They do. And they're doing the best to keep it calm. They've reclaimed the space there now. It's a really nice space, actually. It's a college. And they've reclaimed the space. When I say reclaim, they've like just kicked the locks off, basically. And they've made it into a community space, a space where there's they've got a recording studio in there that have decorated out wicked now. It looks amazing. They've got a space in there where they're doing martial arts and dance for the young people. They've got a space in there where they can do film screenings. And all of this should have been provided by the local council. But the people are doing it. So it's like the Republic of Grenfell down there right about now. So what do you think they should do with it?
Where do they do this? In the ruins?
No. In a college space that's sort of like underneath the flyover. Yeah, underneath the flyover. It doesn't have a name at the moment. Well, do you know what? It's really interesting. I wanted to do an oral history project, so I went down there with this great piece of technology, and I didn't ask to interview anybody. I just let the thing run, and the conversations that folk were having. You had people come from all over London and all over the UK. Were coming down with donations, with bags of clothes, of food. I went there. The street was just like piles, and I would say piles of food and clothes. This was like on the night, because I was itching. I wanted to stay in my garden, swing in my hammock. It was a beautiful day. That was my plan. But when I saw what was happening down there, I had to go down, and I ended up going down there in the evening. It was incredible. The energy was amazing, and I go to every single silent walk, and I take my dictaphone with me, and I just record the silence, even, and some of the chit chat and the conversations that folk are having. Because as oral history, I don't want it to be where I'm sitting there asking these dry kind of questions, and I just want people to feel very, very free to just chat. And fortunately enough, maybe I've got a smile that make people go, just blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of nice, I'm getting some inside stuff that I'm really looking forward to putting together. But I want to honour the fact that these people are traumatised, they're grieving. And so I have to sit and question myself as an artist. Why am I doing this? This is a great piece of footage. Eesh. I feel like such a parasite, man, So I have to really exercise sensitivity and have a really interesting conversation with myself. And it's great because it's questioning what it means to listen and be human, have that empathy, that sympathetic empathy as well, like feel what someone's feeling and just like let it just be that, not for a result of anything, So only one person thinks that it should stay there, but we have not. What do people think? Just flow something out, just anything.
She moved the royal family there.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Great. Anybody else? Anything?
Why can't it move the setup that's there now in the college to here?
To this space. It's great idea. Anyway, let's move on. Oh, yeah. So I went to the opening of the public inquiry. And the reason why I'm going on about Grenfell a lot is because I like I said, I've seen that the young people want to riot. They want to go and smash and burn, and the community are keeping them, and they're getting their heads around it. Pardon me.
It was often like the liberal teacher, social worker.
Oh, no. It's not them who are doing it. I'm talking about the radical people down there who know that this is a long game. Yeah. They're going to be chasing this justice 10 years, 20 years. Look how long the Hillsborough families had to fight. They know it's a long game. So that's why they're pacing, all the money that people were donating, all those millions and millions that people were talking about, people weren't getting it. And some of them aren't even accepting it. Because they know if they do, it's going to come back and bite them. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I should stop talking about this. Right? Filter, just come back up again. Okay, so what qualifies you to speak? What qualifies them, the people who were doing the public inquiry to represent the folk, what qualified them, because they really weren't qualified. But I just want to play you this on the day that I went down there. They decided that they were going to come out and do this on the day after. Because, and I spoke to the little one there, the small one, they're so cute. He said, it makes me feel calm. So, you know, responses aren't always going to be violent. You know, sometimes it is just about, this is just too much, I've got to just find peace somewhere. You know, and we can look to the next generation to help us with that, I think. Okay. No recourse to justice. That was in the blurb for the event, right? No recourse. It's interesting that. I really find that interesting when you know that this is the truth. I think I'll just leave it at that. Poet, activist, Oswald, philosopher. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, you know this gentleman. So, I'm going to ask you, how many different types of listening do you know? Just throw some different types of listening out at me. Generous, active, intentional, compassionate, deep, empathetic, healing, just listening, eye contact, selfless, loving, natural, hard, attentive, paralinguistic, sincere, ardent, reduced, non-judgmental, observational, shut up and, advice for free, wise, sincere. Don't be using that time talking, thinking about what you're gonna say next, listening. I'm gonna say that one again. Don't be using the time I'm talking, thinking about what you're gonna say next, thinking, listening. Tentative, patient, visceral, appropriate, unconditional. And I threw that question out to my Facebook friends, and that's where they went. I really appreciated that there's so many different ways that we can listen, which means there's all those multiple ways that people are being ignored. Feeling me? Alrighty, cool. What's next? Now, as a person from a minority group, I'm sick and tired of people talking about me. It's really, really interesting. Hey, it's really interesting when my friends come up and said, Zena, man, I nearly hit this woman. She was talking about you. She said, oh, Zena, she's just one of those angry black women though, isn't she? And he was like, do you know the work she does though? Do you know the things that she's up to with the young people? Do you know how gentle she is? Do you know how this she is? And all of that. Don't talk about my bestie like that. And I really appreciated that. The reason why I opened a Facebook page was because as a poet, I get up here and I do my poetizing, and people have all these different versions of what they think I am. Back in the day, I had dreadlocks, so I had really long locks, so people thought I was like a dub poet. And then, you know, when slam hit the thing, people thought I was a slam poet. And I'm like, I don't do that competitive shouty thing. I don't do that, you know. And then there was all these different versions of me out there, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put myself out on Facebook. This is what I am. And even then, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say, because ultimately there's the black woman trope, And that's always going to be the first thing that comes to people's minds. So I spend my time doing, I spend some time doing it. I don't do it all the time because I've got over it, because I was really pissed about that whole kind of, all these different labels and versions of me. Sometimes I'd come up on stage and I can see people working me out, like, what? That voice and that body and that face, skin, that what? It doesn't make sense. I'll tell you one really quick story. I did a gig in Holland and I rushed in because my plane was like 2 hours late, man. It was 2 hours late. I was supposed to be on stage. And Holland literary circuit is really interesting. It's like really split down the middle. You've got it's very, very sort of like white literary kind of, in smart shirts and jeans. And then on the other side, it's this really cool, trendy, hip, finger clicky kind of crowd. And I walked into this venue after I was hot and I was flustered. I was sweaty. I hadn't had a chance to have a cup of tea or anything. And I sat there and I was like, oh God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Because it was like right down the middle. And I thought, well, Zena, what are you about? You're about creating community moments. So just create a community in that moment and just do you. And I could feel myself batting off all of these different kind of like judgments about what I'm doing. Like, well, she's doing that. Well, she's doing that now. She's supposed to be doing this kind of thing. Why is she talking like that? And I'm like, so all these different kind of like, I could feel it happening. I feel myself batting off and doing all these matrix moves, dodging all these like different opinions and judgments coming at me until after like 15 minutes, I'm like, suddenly it was like everything was one. They suddenly were just listening to the stories. And that's why I love storytelling. Storytelling is not just for children, because everybody's ears can eventually just tune in to that heart and spirit and human hero journey kind of story. And so I think storytelling, if ever you hear about a storyteller that's out there, go and see it and take your kids if you have any, but just go for yourself and sort of like, leave them sitting by the side, but just get into it for yourself. Because storytelling it brings that awe and that wonder back. And I'm championing the storytellers out in the world because I really believe that they do some really incredible work. Revolving anger. It's a monstrous machine gorging on the overwhelmed to paralyze. They prefer to call apathy. They prefer to call it apathy. And the papers blare, London's burning. This is history turning. This is the face of a tormented creature, of your creating. The lack of belonging dealt the final blow, and all the neighbourhood got robbed that day. This is referring back to the Duggan story. For some reason, I don't have the part where I actually met Simone, who was Mark Duggan's partner. On the back street, because it was my friend's birthday, and I just thought, I'm going to come off of the main road, man, this is a madness. And as I was going down the back street, I'm seeing this crowd of young people and women walking, and they've got their banners and they're down by their sides, just hanging kind of like limply, despondently by their sides. And I'm like, excuse me, I just wanted to ask you, like, what's happening out there? And this young woman came forward and she just said with this tone in her voice that I'll never forget, she said, this woman's husband, his uncle, and her nephew was shot, was executed 5 days ago. And we've been standing outside this police station trying to find out what's going on, and they're not talking to us. And then hence it kicking off. And all I could say was, I'm really sorry, and more power to you in the struggle, man. I really hope you get some justice. That's all I could say, because it was just such a crazy, surreal thing to be happening. But one of the things that I suddenly realised, I talk about London's burning, and this is history turning. We talk about revolts, revolutions. Revolutions are just things turning, and we just see in the other side. Does that make sense? Or is this just me and my poety head going off on one? Does this make sense? Thank you. I need validation. I'm sensitive. Right. Okay, so I think it's important to sort of think about the way that we talk about the people that we're talking about, and that we humanise them as much as we can in the process of talking about the issues that are happening to them. Because a lot of times it's what's happening to folk. I'm going to move on. This was really, really interesting. Is anybody aware of the filmmaker John Akomfra? Oh, he's in the show. Okay, cool. So, Hands with Songs, cool, because that's one of my favorites, I think. So this is just like a montage of extracts from Hands with Songs, because I was old enough. I was 14 when the riots happened in 1981 in Tottenham, and then to see it happening again in 2011 in Tottenham, it was quite okay. Anybody want to share any thoughts? I mean, even of everything that I've said so far, you know, like I said, I'm not just. You can answer back. I quite like what that lady sort of said. Well, actually, I found that a little bit. I really like that. So has anybody got anything they want to say back at me? Please feel free. Oh, okay. That's a good thing, isn't it? That's all right. Okay, so this is an extract taken from. I'll play it in a bit, actually, because I feel like having a little bit of a boogie again. From Linton Kwesi Johnson's The Great Insurrection. And what I love about what they've done here is that it's written in patois. And the one thing that you can have is your own language to be able to express your whole self. So when someone's talking about you and misrepresenting you, or you can answer back in your own language, with your own kind of. Do you know what? I might have to just read you another little bit of another poem. Yeah, just as a. Like really going off track a little bit, maybe. But maybe not. This poem is called Archipelingua. And it's about all the different languages that I've experimented with over time to find a sort of, I don't know, some kind of Creole, if you like, of my own, to be able to express my full self. And I was dating this Brazilian guy, hot Brazilian guy for a minute. And it was fun, you know. I put it into context and knew what it was. I wasn't falling in love anytime soon. I got to go to Brazil. I got to learn some Brazilian. Hey? Brazilian Portuguese, my bad. Brazilian Portuguese. So, are you from Brazil? Are you from Brazil, sir? Okay. Thank you for correcting me. Eu sei. No, let me start this again. Okay. In fact, I'll just do it. I'll just go forward. Eu sei. Você não sabe. Você não sabe. You don't know. Ela sabe. She knows. Ela não sabe. Ele sabe. He doesn't know. Brazilian Portuguese on my headphones as I try to learn the language of my new lover. I want to speak his chestnut-skinned diasporic alchemy, wealthy with colonial contradictions just like me, the whip and knock of the Pelourinho auction block, the cadence of the verdant Amazon night, the clave, the conga, timbale, and the tears in the favelas and the alleys of Bahia. I romanticize being quick on the draw with this new rhythm on the hip of my lip. If I mastered my new love's language, this lingua franca would bridge the gap, the bridge between the long distance, doing more work than Skype alone could do. Love would make you believe that kind of thing. I have been envious of the Botswanan I met in Gaborone 3 years before, who told me respect is woven in a ubuya sekai. Setswana knows how to respect its elders. And he did not respect my Xhosa that thumped out of my mouth with a tongue like lead. He said this Xhosa, which I had learned, was rooted in 47,000-year-old Twa of the Khoisan, who spoke in clicks and sand shushing, leaf rushing, sun shifting, eland hunting underflow of the silver desert homeland. And why had French been a language of my childhood preference for so long? Playfully, I would resort to it to show that I was just that, playful. And I excelled at it in school till it began to be the only tongue I shared with my imaginary friends. You see, the only child needed some help to be one more step away from an ache-making reality. Now, it was under a system of indoctrination that I was gifted with Shakespeare, who unwittingly freed me, a child with a restless mind who stares longer and longer as she gets older and older in the bathroom mirror, searching her lips for recognition, opening her mouth wide, looking at the glistening blood-pink flesh to see into her genes, willing them to remember, lifting the lid of her tongue, hoping to find something that was stolen. Eu quero liberar minha boca. I want to free my mouth from the combination lock state installed at birth upon my lips so that taxes can get paid, my vote can be counted, but has nothing to do with being born free. So I think it's really important to know that young people are on the street with their own language. You talk about texting earlier. Young people are creating a whole other language with text. They have a whole other different understanding of what literacy is through text messaging. There was this story going around called, I can't remember, Shanice or something, the Sket, which is basically, a girl that sleeps around a bit. And it was like a chain story. So it might you don't know when you're going to hit it through WhatsApp. It might just hit your phone and somebody would add a chapter and then it would just be passed on and somebody else would add a chapter and it was going around the nation. So, we have to think about how technology is actually liberating a lot of young folk. And I don't know, we have to be really, really careful. This is my thing, we have to be careful. Sometimes young folk can be fetishized as being really, 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 really bad or really, 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 really good when they're just normal kids in between, just like living, going to college, studying, doing shopping for their mum, that kind of thing, So yeah, that's just one thing that I wanted to just share with you there. I just want to play a little bit of this if you don't mind, because I love Linton. He's like the uncle that you should have because he's just hard, straight to the point, doesn't mince his words, he just doesn't take any shit. Love him. So we have to do it this way.
It was in April 1981, down in the ghetto of Brixton, that the Babylon them caused such a friction, that it bring about a great insurrection, and it spread all over the nation. It was truly an historical occasion. It was event of the year, and I wish I had been there when we run riot all over Brixton, when we mash up plenty police van, when we mash up the wicked one plan, when we mash up the swamp 81. Hey, what? They make the ruler them understand that we not take no more of them oppression. And when me check out the ghetto grapevine, they find out all I could have find. Every rebel just a rebel in them story. Them a talk about the power and the glory. Them a talk about the burning and the looting. Them a talk about the smashing and the grabbing. Them a tell me about the vanquish and the victory. Them said the Babylon them went too far. So what we had was the bun too car. And 1 and 2 innocent get more. But what? No so it go sometime in a war in star. No so it go sometime in a war. Them say we burn down the judge, we put a burn the landlord. We burn down the judge, we never burn the landlord. When we run riot all over Brixton, when we mash up plenty police van, when we mash up the wicked one plan, when we mash up the swamp 81. Them say we commandeer car and we gather ammunition. We build with barricade and the wicked catch a afraid. We send out, we scout, we go find a way around.
That's a breath for me anyway. Nice. Yeah, Uncle Linton. Eh? Yeah, the great and don't you just love the way they're spelling it? Just love the way they're spelling it, because that's how you say it. So why are you gonna do? No, that's how you say it. All right. Okay, Linton, that's enough now, sweetie. Okay. I need to stop it because it's just gonna play, isn't it? There we go. You can't stop the insurrection. That's right. Whoop, whoop. All right. So this is another interesting one. All our heroes have criminal records. So this is come on. Russell Means, Native American. You will remain a commodity as long as the empire exists. Rosa Parks, and then there's also Tupac Shakur. Let me just read you a bit of poem. You talk and talk about the criminality, the opportunism, materialism turned nihilistic. You balk at the haves and the have-nots polemic when it's human beings on the ground living the hard reality of it. Compassion is the missing link. The them and us instinct prevails. The haves finds the emotion of anger, and oh, how it whelps and wails when the have-nots trespass and jump the rails. The sport is now in the sentencing, and the terms in jail clean up the streets for the Olympic ticket sales. The placenta of the system is struggling like beloved Tottenham. The eternal roadworks send another bus on diversion to channel cheap commerce to the hungry, unhealthy economy, to drive taxed poultry wages through the industrial park, to Mackie D's, to Currys and Aldi's, to junk food, to shiny things and cheap fleeces. This hunk of capitalism placates, distracts and appeases. But who wants to hear that sob story? Because this is the land of hope and glory. The numbing, the dumbing is strategic. He who controls the media controls the public. The TV guide, disguised as adult content, passes as actually key stage 2 sound bites with anaesthetizing intent to oil the cogs of the monstrous machine in the age of apathy, injecting inflammatory blatancy. Gone are the days of being PC. Now you're fanning the dis-ease with I told you so glee, till resistance to explode is low. The lack of belonging dealing the final blow, and all the neighbourhood got robbed that day. The papers blared, London's burning. This is the face of a tormented beast. This is history turning. They kettle children here, you know. For real. For real, for real. The absurdity, let alone the outcry. So tantrums are inevitable, as children test the boundaries before they fly. Your rationale is to bring out some old water cannons, rubber bullets and bullshit sentencing, replace the fashion of the hoodies to some Dickensian no caps in court unless it's Oliver Twist style. Please, sir, can you fuck me up some more? And we see the age in which the judicial system exists, and the ink of law is on dusty pages. Victorian ages still persists. Yeah. Thank you. So you know they were giving people like 6 months for stealing bottles of water and stuff like that. You did know about that. So, you know, ultimately, it's not a court of justice. It's a court of law. Whose law? We've been framed, man. We've been framed. So the next slide is where I'm going to really risk this now. Does anybody feel like singing? Okay, so we moved our bodies a little bit, but maybe we should exercise our lungs. She's like, no. It's okay. Exercise our lungs a bit. I'll do it then. I'll do the singing. For me, the remembering that which has been dismembered. You know, they work really hard to keep communities fractured and broken, and the timeline of our history, particularly the timeline of resistance. There was a time when you would have, Asian groups working with white working class, working with black radical groups, you know, all these like different radicals from different cultures just coming together and knowing who the enemy was. That doesn't happen anymore. And that's really sad. I would like to actually go back to that time. I was doing a talk, it was in a park, was kind of doing this kind of like math sort of, I don't know when it was, kind of like feeling the temperature for what was going to be the next move for the Black Lives Matter UK. And this Asian guy started cussing me, like really like going off. You're just a bitch because of this and blah, blah. Because it's always about black people. Why is it always about black people? And I'm like, mate, when you have a Brown Lives Matter, I'm there with you with Black Lives Matter. We should do a wicked allyship, you know. But it's not about, you know, Black Lives Matter and everybody jump on it. It's like, if we could do this amazing allyship. I love the history of white working class, brown, Asian working class, immigrant, migrant communities, and West Indian working class communities coming together. I don't know why it doesn't happen anymore. It's unfortunate, and we seem to be battling against each other now. And I think that's the media machine doing its job very, very well. So for me, it's about remembering, putting back together that which has been dismembered. I'm going to... So this is what I'm going to try. A community that sings together stays together. That's why I was like hoping we could like do a little sing-song, but it's obviously not going to happen. But let me just read you this two-part kind of poem. And I want you to imagine I'm a weather girl. And there's a kind of, the whole kind of thing behind me. You know, like, you know, the whole thing behind me. Yeah, here we go. I believe that climate issues and environmental justice is also high, should be very high on the agenda, because that's one of the reasons, a lot of the reasons why we're having a lot of issues around migrancy anyway. There's people who cannot work their land anymore because it's all dried up. So they come into the cities are all bombed out. They become radicalized because of how their cities have been bombed out. And then sometimes they come over to England, they come over to Germany, they come over to Italy, wherever they come into, because sometimes it's to do with environmental issues. So this poem has a reference to that in there. It's a two-part poem. So if the planet is dying, you know, we become the endangered species. I want you to imagine yourself all as artists as well. Right now, you've got cells, blood cells are dying off, and you're recreating yourself right now. Oh, really? Okay, thank you very much. I'll just do two then. Just do two pieces. Two. I'll do two. I'm going to sing. Okay, here we go. A cold front. Good morning. A cold front will be moving in from the west, moving south of the equator and importing into the east an economic pushback of environmental conflict refugees, with expected freezing conditions of patriarchy for many years to come, bringing with it high pressure in the regions of poverty, misogyny, racial profiling, homophobia, Islamophobia, all in the general region of xenophobia. Now, this slash and burn of such a drought in human empathy emphasizes in GM crops and corrupt cops at climate talks, traded carbon emissions to the regions of South India and anticipated choked floods in the rivers of Bolivia. Now, the temperature did begin to rise during the office of Bush, Blair and Bin Laden and Reagan's, Thatcher's bastard children. And the heat did peak during Assad and Theresa and Cameron. But the temperatures might plummet in the seasons of Merkel, Hillary and Theresa. The malcontent of the financial crisis blows harder and harder. The frost will penetrate deeper and deeper as austerity squeezes and freezes. Here, 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 here. Well, you get the picture. But take care now. If you were hoping for an education about all of this mess because you were feeling a little bit depressed, you might need to express your disgruntled and neglected imaginations, because the concentrations in the regions of misinformation and media deception might just trick you. Yes, you, little Joe Blogs, trying to grow your organic fruit and get your kids a decent education. You with your mortgage and your dreams of owning your own business. You 9-to-5ing, knowing this is just a version of living but not thriving. You with a molecular speck of any kind of thought of protest. You could become the target with the mostest to lose. So maybe just put the kettle on and avoid the kettling. And be a good worker bee. And join the legions of armchair clicktivists, because Facebook's got your back. So just snuggle up and hug a loved one, because the times have only just begun to get interesting. Back to you, Trevor. Okay. Now if you can hear my little snap. So this was where I was kind of hoping you might join me. If you feel to, please do. I am an endangered species. But I sing no victim song. I am human and I am an artist. And I know where my voice belongs. Said I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am human, I am an artist. And I know, you can join me actually with this, because it would be helpful if you did actually. And I know where my voice belongs, just with the drum beat, that's it, yeah. Yeah, that's nice, thank you. Yeah. I am here, I exist, I shake my fist with these words from my lips. My mind is set and my body is strong. I sing a rebirth, no victim song. No, 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 no. Cause I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am human, I am an artist, and I know where my voice belongs. I said I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am human, I am an artist and I know where my voice belongs. Said the system is blind, it binds my feet to silence my skin, no freedom of speech. I work all day so I can find peace. States of violence are at a peak. Now, so nature is life, the earth has got rights. We'll fight for her freedom all of my life. The road is long, but the struggle is strong. No justice, no peace, my victory song. Now, said I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am human, I am an artist, and I know where my voice belongs. I said I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am human, I am an artist, and I know where my voice belongs. Said I know where my heart belongs, and I know where my soul belongs. Yes, I know where my body belongs, and I know where I belong. Said I know where my voice belongs.